Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. Yes, we're doing third movie video of the month. I don't think I've ever made as many movie videos in the same month as I have here in November. Today, it's time for Let's Talk About Halloween 2, released in 1981. The same year, Friday the 13th Part 2 came out, so what a year for horror movies 1981 was. The second Halloween and Friday the 13th in the same year. Good luck that ever happening again, since the Friday franchise has been in limbo for over a decade with who owns the rights to it. But let's just get straight into it. So, the movie begins with a 5-minute recap of the ending to the first movie, which I also covered here on the channel just over a year ago. That'll be linked in the description in case you want to check that video out. It shows Laurie being attacked by Michael, her falling down the stairs, her unmasking Michael, and then Dr. Loomis coming in and shooting Michael. Now, he says to a police officer that arrives pretty much straight after the ending of the first movie, "I shot him 6 times, I shot him 6 times. He says that twice. Well, I counted 8 gunshots that I could hear from Dr. Loomis, so Sammy, you might need to work on your counting, because I counted 8 shots I could hear. But apparently it was 6 according to him. Now, of course, everything in Halloween 2 was retconned in the 2018 Halloween movie. The only semblance of Halloween 2 left is the 1978 flashbacks from Halloween Kills, which take place directly after the ending of the first movie, which is also where the beginning of this movie takes place, the same time. So Michael, after the recap, we join Michael evading the cops and Dr. Loomis. He walks straight past a dog. For once, he didn't kill it, because Michael has a tendency to love killing dogs for some reason. He walks straight past it. And he simply walks away, just roaming the streets of Haddonfield, and no one seems to notice that the mental asylum patient that killed 3 teenagers, that being the three from the first movie, is literally just roaming the streets around them, and none of them seem to really figure out that it's him. So Dr. Loomis and one of the cops, I think it's the sheriff, go looking around the streets of Haddonfield for Michael again. While they're searching, they think they've seen him. So Dr. Loomis tells him to stop, but instead, the guy they think is Michael gets run over by a car, which then goes into a van and then explodes, and burns him to death. Now, obviously, this isn't Michael because A, Michael wouldn't die from something like that anyway, and B, the hair from the back of the mask was blonde, not black. So that tells you right there, it's not Michael. Then we join Laurie Strode, who, just like in the first movie, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, is being transported to the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. And a big criticism of Halloween 2, and even more apparent in Halloween Kills, is that people don't like when Laurie is bedridden in the hospital. They didn't like it in Halloween 2, and they hated it in Halloween Kills because it's even more apparent in that movie. She does nothing in that movie of any significance. Well, she does a bit more in this movie. So Michael's roaming the streets of Haddonfield looking for Laurie still, because of course he didn't kill her in the first movie. And he hears on a radio that this kid is holding on his shoulder about talking, and the people on the radio say that Laurie Strode has been taken to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. And the kid literally bumps into Michael and then just keeps walking. Like, you literally just bumped into the guy that killed 3 teenagers the same very night. Because, yeah, Halloween 2 actually takes place on the exact same night the first movie ended. Halloween Kills does the same thing, where it takes place on the same night that Halloween 2018 ended. So, Laurie is taken to the hospital and gets told what her injuries are. And she's questioning, why is Michael Myers after her? What has she done wrong? Michael finally arrives at the hospital and breaks into the storage room where he wouldn't have if the security guard had been paying attention to the damn monitors. This ends up coming to bite him in the ass later, because he gets killed when he's searching the storage room. And every single padlock of all the doors had been broken. He opens the first one, doesn't find anything. He opens the second one, doesn't find anything again. But he closes the door, and Michael appears and kills him. This is where we meet some brand new characters. We meet Jimmy, a paramedic. We meet Carol, a nurse. Jeanette, who's another nurse. And later on, Mary, the nurse from the first movie, who was with Dr. Loomis when Michael escaped Smith's Grove originally, she returns. Jimmy, of course, has a keen eye on Laurie. I wonder why. And keeps trying to sneak his way back into her room to talk to her. Apart from he gets caught by one of the head doctors each time. Meanwhile, the other paramedic that Jimmy was with when they brought Laurie to the hospital is trying to convince Carol to, if you know what I mean. It works, even if it doesn't go very well for them in the end, because Michael kills both of them. And the way Michael kills them is actually quite cool. So they get into a jacuzzi, and Michael turns up the temperature higher than it's supposed to be. So the paramedic gets out to check to turn the valve back down, and Michael basically strangles him like with a wire. You know, where you go behind someone with a wire, and start pulling it against their neck. Basically that. Michael was doing that. But it only shows that in the background, as it's showing us the main focus is on Carol, but in the background you can see Michael killing the paramedic. He then turns the valve all the way up, walks up behind Carol, puts his hand out. She has no idea that it's not the paramedic and it's actually him. He grabs her by the head and sticks her head under the water that's constantly rising in temperature over and over. And some of her skin even starts peeling off because of the amount of heat that's going into it. Fun fact, this was the only this was the only scene of any Halloween movie I'd watched until I watched Halloween Kills, Ends, and the first movie last year. Like, I saw that very scene in Halloween 2 from years ago. That was the one scene of the franchise I'd already watched previously. Meanwhile, still in Haddonfield, Dr. Loomis is showing glimpses of him going insane with his obsession with catching Michael. As he'd broken into an elementary school and wrote the word Shireen on the board in blood, which means something like something evil. Means something to do with the evil gods. And Dr. Loomis going a little bit crazy up here the longer it goes on. The body from right at the beginning of the movie finally gets examined, and the doctor who examines him says that the person was not Michael Myers because he looked about 17. Michael Myers, of course, is 21. Because he was born in 1957, because he's 6 years old in the opening of the first movie, which is set in 1963. So it can't be Michael Myers. And then later on, they find out that it was actually Ben Tramer. He was mentioned as the guy that Laurie has a crush on in the first movie, but we never actually saw him in the first movie. And the only screen time he gets in the second movie is being run over by a car into a van that then explodes. So yeah, we don't see much of Ben Tramer at all. Because later on, these two guys come up to Dr. Loomis and the sheriff and ask where... they don't know where their friend Ben Tramer is. He asks them how old... He asked them how old he is, and they say 17, and they said he was wearing a stupid mask. Dr. Loomis puts 2 and 2 together, and doesn't get 5, but gets 4, and realises that's who it was, and Michael Myers is still very much at large. This is where we're introduced to another nurse, Nurse Jill, who Jimmy tells to go down to the police station and get someone to come back if they can't find Laurie. Because she'd previously been laying on her bed completely still, with her eyes open, frozen as if she was dead, which of course she's not. And she'd been having these nightmares about when she was a kid, and seeing this little boy sitting just staring out of a window. She hasn't quite put 2 and 2 together yet, but Nurse Mary comes to the hospital to tell Dr. Loomis, A, there's a marshal waiting for you and you need to come back to Smith's Grove, and B, when they're on their way, when the marshal is taking him back to Smith's Grove, Nurse Mary tells him that there was a secret file about Michael Myers that Dr. Loomis never got to see. And it revealed that Laurie Strode is indeed Michael Myers' sister. Yep. Judith Myers, who Michael kills right at the start of the first movie, wasn't his only sister. Laurie Strode was adopted by Michael Myers' parents when she was very young, because her parents had died. And now and that's how it all starts to make sense, why Michael is specifically going after Laurie. He killed he killed one of his sisters at the beginning of the first movie, and now he's coming after the other one. Michael has also killed one of the other head doctors who kept catching Jimmy sneaking into Laurie's room, trying to talk to her. We don't actually see how she dies. Jimmy just finds her dead with loads of blood all over the floor, which he then slips on and knocks himself out. So Michael's clearly gone and killed her as well. He then finally finds Laurie's room. He opens the door and looks down at her bed, which is exactly what he's doing in the thumbnail of this video, and starts stabbing the bed. He pulls the covers off, and it's just pillows. Laurie isn't there. She's limping her way around the hospital. Then Nurse Jill finally finds her, only for Michael to come up behind her, stick a scalpel through her back, and literally lift her up with just the scalpel. Don't know how he was able to lift her up with such a tiny weapon, but he pulls it off. And this is where we get the one confrontation between Laurie and Michael throughout the whole movie. Halloween 2 isn't quite as good as Halloween 1 because it doesn't have the same eerie feeling, because in the first movie, Laurie keeps on seeing Michael over and over. When she looks out the window, when she's in high school and she looks out the window, he's standing by a car. Or when she looks out the window of her house and Michael's standing next to the sheets on the washing line. Or when she's walking home from school and Michael's just standing there next to a hedge. In this movie, Michael and Laurie don't have anything like that. It's just the first time Laurie sees Michael is when he's coming after her. But of course, Michael Myers doesn't run, he only walks, so Laurie's able to get away from him. And she hides in a car. Jill had previously tried to escape in one of these cars, apart from all the tyres had been slashed. And also, a lot of them had their oil leaked out. So she hides in the first car she can get that opens, she gets inside and starts hiding. Later on, Jimmy turns up, only to then pass out, with his head landing on the horn, making, of course, the horn go off so Michael can hear it. So Laurie makes her way back to the hospital, with Dr. Loomis, the Marshal, and Nurse Mary turning up as well, as once Dr. Loomis was told about that, he realizes where Michael has gone, because that's where Laurie is. So he literally pulls his gun on the Marshal to force him to turn around. And he says, well, what do you normally do, fire a warning shot? And he just blasts open the passenger seat window. They arrive back at Smith's Grove Hospital. They arrive back at the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, with Laurie crawling her way back to the hospital. She starts banging on the doors so they can let her in, as Michael is slowly making his way back to the hospital. They open the doors just in time for her to get in, but Michael literally just walks through the glass in the door, smashing it open. Dr. Loomis shoots Michael a further 5 times, and the Marshal says, well, he's dead. Surely he's dead now. But this is not Dr. Loomis's first rodeo. He's done this before. He knows Michael's not dead. The Marshal does the stupidest thing that you can never do in a horror movie. Go up to the thing chasing after you, when you think it's dead. And then Michael grabs the marshal and slits his throat with the scalpel. So now it's just, all that's left is Michael, Laurie, and Dr. Loomis. The two of them run away from him, and they make it into a room with a bunch of oxygen tanks, or ether tanks, as they're listed as. Michael breaks through the door into this room, which is also labelled major surgery, so it's also a surgery room. Dr. Loomis fires his gun at Michael, but considering he's just used 13 bullets on this night, he doesn't have any more ammo. And Michael stabs Dr. Loomis right in the chest and throws him to the ground. As Michael walks his way towards Laurie very slowly, he aims his gun. No, Michael doesn't carry a gun. That would be even worse if that happened. Michael walks with his scalpel. Laurie says his name, so he lowers the scalpel, but then raises it straight back up, walks towards her, and the gun that Dr. Loomis gave her, she uses it and shoots Michael right in the eyes. Not between the eyes, in the eyes. And this puts off a pretty cool effect as blood starts trickling down the eye holes of Michael's mask. I think that was a really cool effect that they put in. And because of that, Michael is now blind and can't see. So he's just swinging the scalpel around, not knowing where he's actually aiming it. Dr. Loomis tells Laurie to get the hell out of there. And a lighter that he was given earlier on in the movie, after turning on all of the valves for the ether and oxygen tanks, he flips the lighter on and the room explodes. Now you'd think this would have killed Dr. Loomis at least. Probably not Michael because it's Michael Myers, but surely Dr. Loomis has been killed. Well, no, because in the Michael Myers' very next appearance on the big screen, which was in 1988 in Halloween 4, Dr. Loomis is still here. So somehow he survives that explosion, despite he's in the room when it happens. Michael walks out of it, of course, in a very cool fire stunt before falling to the ground, which he's not dead. As I just said, he comes back in Halloween 4, so he's not dead at all. And the movie ends very similar to how it began, with Laurie in an ambulance being taken away. So, Halloween 2, I thought it was pretty good. Definitely didn't capture the same creepiness and eeriness that the first movie did. But we had 3 different first-person POV shots of Michael throughout the movie. We even started after the recap of the first movie, the present of the second movie actually begins with first-person POV shot of Michael, just like how the first movie started. Of course, Michael and Laurie being brother and sister gets completely retconned in Halloween 2018, since every single Halloween movie ever, apart from the original, was retconned with the modern 28 trilogy that started in 2018. But I enjoyed Halloween 2. If I had to rank it among all the Halloween movies I've seen so far, which is only 4, I'd probably say it's the second best after the original, with Halloween Ends and then Kills. So that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, catch you later.